Right after our wedding night ended, Jason held me and suddenly said, "I have a mistress outside, and it's her birthday tonight, I have to go accompany her." My mind buzzed. "You've fallen in love with another woman, why did you still marry me?" He got up to dress, with the hickey I left still on his neck. "Nora, I love you the most, but she's fresh. We've been together too long, I need some excitement." My throat tightened, my voice trembling. "So you're going to leave me on our wedding night to accompany another woman for her birthday?" "To be precise, the wedding night has already ended." He corrected me, then bent down to pinch my face. "She's young, loves to fuss, needs coaxing. You're already Mrs. Jason, you should be more magnanimous." "What if I can't be magnanimous?" He seemed to have been waiting for this sentence, smiling. "Then divorce, but you'll leave with nothing, think it through, I collapsed on the disheveled wedding bed, with the remnants of our recent intimacy still beneath me. The red double happiness characters on the wall were as glaring as a slap in the face. Perhaps my expression was too devastated. Jason sighed, touched my head. "Do you remember the day you tried on the wedding dress? I was in the fitting room next to yours, taking her virginity. She didn't dare make a sound, holding it in like a kitten's meow. That kind of thrill is something you can't provide, can you understand?" My blood seemed to freeze throughout my body, yet tears couldn't stop flowing. That day, I was full of joy trying on what I thought was the most beautiful wedding dress. After dressing and coming out, I couldn't find him anywhere. When I called him, his tone was restrained, saying he had a temporary project to discuss. I thought he was in a bad mood and foolishly comforted him not to overwork. Jason caught my tears, his tone gentle. "Actually, I didn't want to miss a single second of you in the wedding dress, but that little vixen was too clingy. I didn't get out of bed all day." I stared blankly at the ceiling, so long that I forgot to blink. Jason sked, held my hand and kissed it. "Sorry, Nora, I know you're heartbroken. If you insist on divorce, as compensation, I can give you a villa in the city center. But if you're willing to endure for me, everything I have is yours, including my heart." Today was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. Marrying the man I'd been in love with for 8 years, a grand wedding, $1 million diamond ring, everything like a dream. Just 5 minutes ago, we were intimately entwined, inseparable. Now, like a fool, I was crying and asking him, "Why did you have to tell me? Why specifically tonight?" Jason wiped my tears repeatedly, his gaze almost affectionate. "Silly, because I feel sorry for you. I know I'm rotten to the core, but since we're husband and wife, I should be honest with you." He paused, then suddenly smiled. "Of course, there's another reason. I was so looking forward to this moment when you learn the truth. Just as I imagined, pitiful enough to make my heart ache, making me want to compensate you even more. So, don't divorce, okay? I'll love you just like before, I slapped him hard across the face. Grabbing everything within reach, I hurled them at him like a madwoman, roaring with all my strength, "Get out! Get the hell out!" Jason turned his head to wipe his mouth, chuckling as he stood up. He straightened his collar and walked to the door. "Nora, calm down first. I'm going to accompany the little girl for her birthday." The door closed softly. I saw my reflection in the ring, like a deranged mental patient. I huddled in the corner of the bed, tearing at my hair like a lunatic. I banged my head against the wall repeatedly until the pain blurred, until consciousness fully sank into darkness. In the moment I closed my eyes, I returned to 8 years ago. In the cramped room, Jason blocked my abusive father, protecting me fiercely beneath him. His back was bloody and mangled. I cried and shouted for it to stop. Until the siren sounded, with a missing tooth in his mouth, he still smiled at me. "Nora, don't be afraid, no one will bully you anymore." Later, we lived under bridges, scavenging garbage. My bed was his thin back. Then, he worked construction, did sales, finally exchanging for a tiny one-bedroom. He hugged me tightly. "Nora, we have a home now." Those memories were too beautiful, making me linger in the dream too long. When I opened my eyes again, it was the bombardment of WeChat messages from my best friend that woke me. "Nora. It must be media nonsense. Jason loves you so much, it has to be fake." I blankly clicked the link she sent. Just one glance, and my body stiffened. Jason took his mistress for a wild encounter at a Sky restaurant late at night, witnessed by hundreds. The hot search had exploded. With trembling hands, I dialed his phone to confront him. His voice was hoarse. That? Just got carried away, didn't want you to see it. The hot search is a bit hard to suppress. If you really mind, figure out a way to handle it yourself. Like a walking corpse, with my last bit of strength, I went to the address he sent to find him. In a daze, I recalled the early days of his entrepreneurship, when he was simultaneously favored by the daughters of a real estate tycoon and a foreign trade giant. The whole city was betting on which wealthy family he would become a son-in-law to. But Jason surprised everyone. He contacted hundreds of media outlets, publishing just one sentence: "I have a girlfriend, I love her very much, nothing but death can separate us." From that day on, the whole world knew Jason loved me. So today, his betrayal made the whole world find it so thrilling. I found Jason's second home, but at the door, I first encountered his assistant. The pity in the other's gaze made my breath hitch suddenly. Pushing open the door, clothes entangled all over the floor. Jason was embracing a woman sunk into the sofa. Hearing the noise, he patted her back. "Get dressed, my wife is here, show some courtesy." The woman slowly slipped on her dress, coquettishly asking him to zip up the back, then turned to stick out her tongue at me. "Sorry, sister, I didn't expect Ajo to really leave you to accompany me for my birthday, got too excited and overplayed." She blinked, as if suddenly remembering something, exclaiming, "Oh dear, seems like we didn't use protection, but I'll take the pill, don't be angry." I suddenly covered my mouth, my stomach churning, bending over in violent dry heaves. Jason's face changed, immediately getting up to support me. "Nora? What's wrong? Where does it hurt? I'll take you to the hospital." I forcefully pushed away his attempting embrace, tears and physiological vomit surging out messily together. Jason's face darkened, growling at the woman, "Get out now." The woman stomped her foot, letting out a coquettish hum. Jason frowned, but still leaned over to kiss her lips, coaxing softly, "Don't fuss, later I'll have the assistant buy you the pill. Tonight I'm still yours, okay?" Only then was she satisfied, casually draping her lace undergarment over his shoulder, glancing provocatively at me before leaving. Jason casually tossed the fabric onto the sofa, turning back with a concerned tone, gently stroking my back. "Nora, feeling better? I know it's hard for you to accept now, I understand, so if you want a divorce, I won't blame you at all." I wiped the stain from my mouth, lifted my head, staring at him intently with swollen red eyes. "Jason, I won't divorce." I didn't know what I was thinking. Perhaps disgust, anger, but more so, unwillingness. I didn't want any timely stop-loss. Like a gambler with bloodshot eyes, I clung desperately to the chip that he still loved me. I cried, I made a scene, I even held a knife to my own neck as a threat. Jason finally compromised, promising to cut ties with that woman completely. See, he still cared about me. As long as he loved me, perhaps everything could go back. But I didn't expect the slap in the face to come so quickly. A month later, on my birthday, intimate photos of him and my best friend in the office surged to hot search. The double betrayal was like a dull knife cutting my throat. I forcefully vomited a mouthful of blood. I used all my strength to write a long accusation, bribing media to ruin their reputations. But Jason crushed all my struggles with a light sentence. He produced a forged psychiatric diagnosis report, announcing to the world that I was mentally unstable. At the same time, he spent heavily to send my best friend to a top overseas university, saying at the press conference, "She is a very outstanding woman, I look forward to her return after studies." I became a clown. And Jason, after the spotlight faded, gently took my hand. His tone helpless yet indulgent, like coaxing a naughty child. "Nora, last time you threatened with your life, I was very unhappy. Sleeping with your best friend was just a little lesson for you." He sighed, "I sympathize with you. I've endured a month without seeking freshness, but man's nature, you can't stop it. I thought you two were so close, you wouldn't make too much fuss. I'm a bit disappointed. Next time you make such a scene, don't regret it." The day after he said that, he found a female college student to show favoritism and more to warn me. He sold our initial one-bedroom. That was all our youthful memories. In that tiny one-bedroom, we once shared the same bucket of instant noodles, dreaming of a beautiful future. He said he would never betray me. I knelt down begging him I could forego everything, just to keep that house. But I failed. The house was exchanged for the college girl's living expenses. She accompanied him for 2 months, then he switched to a restaurant waitress. My spirit gradually crumbled, drifting between mental health clinics and traditional medicine practices. I often pricked myself like a hedgehog. Until one day, returning home early, I found Jason again, entangled with someone on our marital bed. This wasn't the first time, but it was the first I witnessed firsthand. I beat him like crazy, beat that woman, sending them to the hospital. Jason, to vent for his new favorite, turned and had me committed to a mental hospital. 3 days of electroshock therapy. On the day I returned home, the bedroom door was locked tight, with his panting coming from inside. "Nora, wait outside, we'll finish soon." I waited from daytime to deep night. When Jason came out, I had already slit my wrist with a knife. I woke up in the hospital. He was guarding the bedside, with dark circles under his eyes. He gripped my hand tightly, his voice trembling. "Sorry, Nora, this time I went too far. But how could you gamble with your life? If you really can't take it, you can propose divorce. I'll definitely give you satisfactory compensation." In 8 years, it's false to say we didn't suffer. But he suffered much more than I did. We ate poorly, but I could eat my fill. He was always hungry, collapsing on construction sites, on roadsides, before my eyes. That year, fearing he would starve because of me, I threw a tantrum to break up, going on hunger strike. That was the first time he cried, begging me not to leave. "Nora, don't go. If you go, I really can't hold on." Now, lying on the hospital bed, I gently touched his face, asking seriously, "Jason, do you still love me?" He squeezed my hand hard, kissing my palm vigorously. "Silly, how could I not love you?" During those hospital days, he seemed to revert to the Jason who loved me most. We held hands, embraced, kissed, entrusting ourselves to each other. But this was only temporary. He soon had a new person. It was a tender girl, wearing a skirt, standing behind him, timidly calling me sister. I had a sense of familiarity looking at her. But Jason didn't give me a chance to look closely. He completely shielded the girl, his gaze toward me showing vigilance and protection for the first time. "Mia has a pure personality," I pursued her relentlessly to win her. "If you have any dissatisfaction, direct it at me. She doesn't understand anything, I have to protect her." At that moment, I understood that if I still held 3 parts in Jason's heart, Mia occupied the remaining 7. He protected her airtight. The media never captured Mia's photo. He, who never ate spicy food since childhood, accompanied her to finish a whole pot of red oil hot pot, ending up clutching his stomach in the ER. He said he couldn't give her status, so he transferred 10% of the company's shares to her. On their 100-day anniversary, he booked fireworks across the city, setting them off all night. I stood by the window, watching the brilliant fireworks, my heart aching as if splitting. Suddenly recalling many years ago, we huddled under a bridge, picking up discarded fireworks from the trash. He always gave them to me first. I always couldn't bear to light them, saving them for birthdays or important days, only then lighting one. The tiny spark bloomed in the night, exploding into a humble flower. At that time, Jason would hug me tightly from behind, his voice choked. "Sorry, Nora, I can only let you see such fireworks. I swear, in the future, I'll definitely let you see the world's grandest and most beautiful fireworks." Later, we had money. The wedding was extremely luxurious. But I didn't get a single firework. I thought he forgot. Turns out he didn't. He just went to illuminate another woman's night sky. What truly broke me was the wedding he prepared for Mia. All details handled by him personally. He invited all close friends, announcing Mia as his true love in this life. At that moment, seeing Mia in the wedding dress overlapping with the shadow in my memory, I went mad. I rushed into the wedding venue with a knife, confronting him. Jason, why don't you love me anymore? Isn't she just the former me? His first reaction was to shield Mia behind him. Then he grabbed my hand and threw me down the stairs. I fell to the ground, blood soaking my pants. Waking up in the hospital again, Jason was by my side, his white shirt stained with darkened blood. His face full of pain. The doctor told me the child was gone. I couldn't remember which one this was. The third, or fourth? I only remembered initially it was because of poverty, couldn't afford decent contraceptives. Later, two ignorant young people desperately strained their bodies for entrepreneurship. The first child quietly left due to malnutrition, the second was an accident from overwork. The doctor once euphemistically informed that it would be hard for me to conceive again. Jason then, with red eyes, hugged me saying, "It's okay, Nora, we'll be dinks, having you is enough." Now, this unexpectedly arrived child also left in such a tragic way. Jason lay by my bed, shoulders shaking, crying and swearing, "Nora, sorry, I'll protect you well, won't let you suffer any more grievances." But my soul seemed to drift away with that unformed life. He didn't go accompany Mia anymore, but Mia came to the hospital herself. She carried a fruit basket. Hearing I lost the child, tears streamed down. "Sister, I originally didn't want to say it now, afraid you'd be sad. But, I'm pregnant." That taut string finally snapped. I grabbed the nearby water cup and smashed it over, roaring with all my strength, "Get out." Jason almost instantly blocked in front of her, the cup smashed on his back. He turned to the doctor who came upon hearing, "Give her a sedative. You couldn't keep your own child, why go crazy at Mia?" I said, "Direct any anger at me." The cool liquid pushed into my veins, the world began to spin, blur. But I clearly felt that the spirit in my heart supporting me till now completely dissipated at this moment. I stared emptily at the ceiling, tears silently flowing non-stop. Jason let go of Mia. With a pained expression, he wanted to hug me like before. Just before his hand touched my shoulder, I said, "I agree." He froze, seeming not to understand. I said, "I agree to divorce." Jason indeed fulfilled his promise, giving the city center villa, plus an extra 10 million in compensation. He brought Mia home, caring for her meticulously. But just a week later, concerned about Mia's pregnancy, he couldn't resist desire and tacitly allowed another woman to climb into bed. Initially, he felt a trace of guilt, but on second thought, he and Mia weren't married, that guilt instantly vanished. He bought an apartment, starting a new round of revelry. For a continuous month, the women by his side changed like a revolving lantern. That night, he had just finished intense pleasure with a young starlet. Sweat not yet dry, he leaned against the headboard lighting a cigarette. In the swirling smoke, he suddenly noticed this young starlet's brows and eyes resembled someone extremely. Unconsciously, he blurted out, "Nora?" The young starlet coquettishly pounded him, "Who's Nora?" "Thinking of another woman in my bed, I'm unhappy." That affected expression, Jason knew clearly, would never appear on my face. He snapped back, subconsciously wanting to soothe. He opened his mouth, but realized he couldn't recall this young starlet's name at all. He had slept with too many, never bothering to remember. Anyway, they weren't his wife, material provisions were enough, why bother coaxing? But this thought arose, and he wondered, how long had it been since he coaxed me? When was the last time he noticed my grievances? The floodgates of memory burst open. He recalled many years ago, two people squeezed on that creaky small bed in the rental. He gripped my cold hand, voice hoarse, "Nora, I've wronged you, following this penniless bum." And I just buried deeper into his arms, "Not wronged, I have the best Jason in the world." Later, he made money, buying me bigger and bigger houses, filling the wardrobe with luxuries. He gradually felt I should be satisfied, no longer wronged. Then later, he cheated, betrayed, crushing my heart time and again. He ignored my grievances, never coaxing me again. The young starlet beside him, dissatisfied with Jason's distraction, pinched his thigh to pull him back to reality. She giggled coquettishly, vowing to make Jason forget all women except pleasure in her bed. She slid down from Jason's chest, attempting to reignite his passion. But Jason felt a sudden wave of irritation, almost suffocating. He found it utterly boring, bluntly pushing away the young starlet, getting up to dress. Whatever movie you want to shoot, talk directly to my assistant. He left the stunned woman, driving away from the apartment. The car drove aimlessly, when Jason realized it had stopped at our former home. He forgot, this house, he had already let Mia move in. He entered the password, the door opened. The living room was unlit, but intense panting came from the bedroom. He twisted open the bedroom door, catching Mia and a male model in the act. The room full of nauseating musk. What froze his blood more was Mia's words before he opened the door. My period just ended, if you can hit it in one go, I'll add 30,000. In that instant, the world spun. The pregnancy was a scam. Mia panicked, tears streaming, explaining it was because she loved him too much, she just wanted to rise up badly. She cried like pear blossoms in rain, but the ambition and scheming in her eyes could no longer be hidden. Jason looked at her young face full of cunning, suddenly feeling like a joke. How could he think Mia resembled me? That girl who once had eyes only for him, pure as fresh snow, had long been lost by his own hands. Raging flames consumed him. He drove out the disheveled Mia and that male model. Then, he drove madly toward the city center villa he gave me. But there was nothing there. The agent told him the house was listed for sale the day I got it. He dialed my phone repeatedly, only cold busy tones responded. Jason finally couldn't hold on, slumping to sit on the midnight street. He tugged his hair hard, emitting painful whimpers from his throat. Tears smashed on the ground, only then did he realize he was crying. Nora, I was wrong, I regret it. After signing the divorce agreement, I bought a train ticket back home. Over 20 hours of jolting, the scenery outside faded from bustling to familiar desolation. In my hometown, I bought a small 2-bedroom, then lay in bed for 3 full days and nights. I was dazed, plagued by nightmares. Upon waking, I swallowed handfuls of sleep aids. But in the drug-induced sleep, no nightmares, but longer pasts. I dreamed of early entrepreneurship, Jason at banquets like stars around the moon, several heiresses favoring him. I huddled in our little house, just imagining him possibly holding another's hand. Tears could soak a whole roll of tissues. But he returned late at night, with a strawberry cake I couldn't bear to buy even for my birthday, hugging me tightly. Nora, you should have some faith in me, my heart is too small, it can only hold you. Later, we rushed around for business. On the street, we encountered my father who, after jail for domestic violence, formed a new family. He let his son ride on his neck, his face showing gentleness I'd never seen. That night, unusually, I drank some alcohol, drunkenly pulling Jason to ask, why doesn't my dad love me? Just because I'm a girl? He pinched my face, silly Nora, that's his stupidity, what's wrong with girls? I love girls the most. In the future, we'll have a little girl like you, and I'll let her ride on my head every day. But Jason, you broke your word. My children, knowing I'm a bad mom who can't hold on to happiness, one after another, refused to come. Every time waking crying from such dreams, my heart twitched in pain. My card had a lot of money, enough to restart countless times. But my courage had long been drained. When neurasthenia reached its peak. I don't remember how I got to the rooftop, only that the crowd below blurred into one. I closed my eyes. When I opened them again, I was lying on a hospital bed. The doctor gravely told me I had heart trauma. If this continued, I'd die from depression. I looked at my hair in the mirror, almost half white. Too ugly, ugly enough that I just wanted to shrink back into the shell made of blankets. Only my doctor patiently tapped my shell gently every day. She said, time heals all, don't resist the pain, it will pass. I wanted to tell her, no. The 8 years of loving entanglement with Jason, those children who truly existed in my body. They weren't memories, but brands etched into the soul. Time won't heal, it will only turn every recollection into a new lingering death. But I was in too much pain. Painful enough that even knowing it's futile, I desperately wanted to forget. I forced myself to accept treatment. The doctor said, "Go travel, before broader landscapes, one learns to forget." So I spent a year traveling many places. Sometimes standing before magnificent scenery, in a trance, I'd still think of Jason. I remembered him enthusiastically planning our post-wedding honeymoon. To Bali, Zishuangbana, Eiffel Tower, to all places I wanted to go. Back then, happily and naively making full guides, thinking the future was within reach. Until the wedding night, he gave me the most sobering blow in the cruelest way. That night, I racked my brains but couldn't understand when exactly he changed heart. Now, carefully recalling his later distant gazes, perfunctory hugs, and absent companionships. Only then discovering love had long flowed away silently like sand in an hourglass. But back then, I loved him too much. Love blinds, willingly fabricating 1,000 evidences he still loved. Unwilling to admit the fact he no longer did. Travel isn't always poetry and distance, more often rugged mountain paths and unpredictable accidents. But when the longed-for scenery crashes into view unexpectedly, all fatigue turns worthwhile. Along the way, I met many fellow travelers. The longest lasting was a team of 5 or 6 grannies spontaneously formed. Their hair gray, but steps steady. I asked, "Does your family feel at ease with you out like this?" The leading granny smiled, half a lifetime trapped at home, serving the old, raising the young. In this last bit of time, one should live for oneself once. She looked at me, suddenly patting my hand. "You're still so young, afraid of taking the wrong path? Just turn around and walk anew." At that moment, the tangled knots in my mind seemed suddenly untied. We challenged a snow mountain together. As altitude rose, the grannies often needed to stop for oxygen. Our team was much slower than others, but no one mentioned giving up. Everyone supported each other, walking and stopping, finally planting the flag on the summit. Standing at the snow mountain peak, bitter cold wind, yet we hugged, excitedly wailing and crying. Overlooking the vast sea of clouds and stretching mountains below, those once heart-wrenching pains and lingering betrayals suddenly diluted to utter insignificance. The mountain wind swept away obsessions, bringing rebirth. With steps, I measured the world's breadth inch by inch, and in the sceneries along the way, pieced back the shattered self. Finally, I returned to that small 2-bedroom in my hometown, lying in bed, my heart already earth-shatteringly changed. I no longer indulged in sad memories, no longer repeatedly chewed bitter pasts. I started morning runs, puzzles, flower arranging, painting. I did everything that interested me, enriching myself. Until an utterly ordinary afternoon, carrying groceries home from the supermarket. Suddenly saw Jason. After the instant shock, my heart surprisingly stirred no great ripples. Even that surprise was merely because I almost forgot this person who once left deep marks in my life. I didn't let him in. We went to the nearby park, sitting at ends of a bench with distance. His gaze locked on my face almost greedily. After a while, he furrowed brows, voice carrying loss. "Nora, don't you miss me? I've searched for you long, every day, every second, missing you madly." I lightly tugged my lip, tone flat, and then? He seemed not to understand. "What?" I turned my head, for the first time facing his eyes. "You missing me is your business, what does it have to do with me?" Jason stiffened entirely, face full of disbelief. I didn't look at him again, picked up the shopping bag by my feet, got up and walked homeward. I didn't know why he still came to find me, we long had no relation. But he seemed trapped in the past, obsessively wanting to see me still loving him. He began appearing frequently where I often went. But my attitude was one, treat him as heir. Later, he probably reached his limit, blocking me in the hallway at my door. His face even had tear stains. I didn't understand what those tears meant, perhaps just unwillingness. With trembling hands, he pulled out our former wedding ring from his pocket. The dozen-carat gem sparkled even in the dim hallway. He grabbed my hand, gently putting it on. "Nora, only after you left did I realize I'm the world's biggest fool. I thought between us only habit and duty remained." It was my self-indulgence, hurting you time and again, thinking no matter what I did you'd tolerate and forgive. I'm a bastard, but I really know I was wrong. Come back to me, okay? I examined the ring on my hand, feeling it cheaper than a 5 yuan roadside plastic ring. You don't know you're wrong, you've just enjoyed enough. Jason, if it were me cheating on wedding night and pregnant with another's child, would you forgive me? His spine bent suddenly, face pale. He couldn't even imagine that scene, just hearing the hypothesis felt like his heart torn raw. Precisely because he had truly loved, now he knew crystal clear. We couldn't go back. He exited my life like a lost soul. Back home, Jason bought back our initial one-bedroom. The house changed hands several times, all our items were gone, only an empty shell left. He curled up on the small bed, like a lost child, crying heartrendingly. For a long time after, he tried to numb himself with work. Until at a social event, meeting a girl 5 or 6 parts similar to me. He sank into the pathetic game of finding substitutes. Some catered to him, sending one similar me after another to his bed. He compensated guilt doubly to these substitutes, repeating our past in the old house. But whenever passion faded, sobriety hit. Looking at those similar yet strange faces beside, huge voids and nausea would engulf him. He knew, they weren't me. The roller coaster emotions and indulgence thoroughly destroyed his body and mind. Gradually, no matter how the other pleased, he could hardly arouse interest. He began relying on drugs, from one pill to a box. Until permanently losing all response. More ironically, he was diagnosed with HPV, blocking drugs no longer worked. He could only watch himself decay bit by bit from inside. In the abyss of despair, he fantasized. If I saw his miserable pitiful state, would I soften? Would I, at life's end, grant him some companionship? Dragging his sick body, he found me again. But I already had a new life. Beside a gentle reliable partner, holding a babbling child. He hid in the dark peeking, like a rat in the gutter. At that moment, belated regret like 10,000 arrows piercing heart. He truly regretted. If not for greedily craving that fresh excitement back then, I would have borne him a child too. He could have been the happiest man in the world. But he didn't cherish. He fled back to that one bedroom. Life's last moments, tormented in solitude and illness. Before death, he left all inheritance to me. As last consciousness dissipated, he murmured unclearly, "Nora, sorry."